Everybody, welcome back to the Beyond the Peloton podcast. I'm Spencer Martin, author of the Beyond the Peloton newsletter. I'm here with Andrew Vontz and special guest Jonathan Kaplan, as is tradition, to help us preview the final Grand Tour of the season, the Vuelta a España, 21 stages for those who don't know, just like the Tour de France, but in Spain. But Andrew, do you want to plug anything before we get going? Jonathan, would you like to introduce yourself after that happens?
Yeah, please subscribe to my podcast. It's Choose the Hard Way if you're on the Substack app, or alwaysthehardway.substack.com if you like to go direct. And I know many of you do. And you can also find those links at Hardway Pod on Instagram. Check it out. Jonathan, great to have you here.
Guys, thanks for having me. If you want to check out my work about professional cycling, the media, culture, business, politics, go to ridingwithkaplan.substack.com.
And Vuelta a España, Tour of Spain, like I said, do you know what country it starts in?
Italy.
Torino. Like, do we live in I feel like does every Grand Tour start in Piedmont now? Like, what's going on here? Apparently the economy's doing well. They can afford for every Grand Tour to come here. But what are your guys' first impression? I mean, I'll just say some basic stats for us to get us going. Vuelta, you're probably thinking uphill finishes. Well, there's 10 mountain stages. There's 9 summit finishes. That's ridiculous. 4 flats, like 4 stages that are, I guess, sprints. 5 hilly-ish stages. 1 uphill finish that you would not count as a summit finish. 2 time trials. 1 team time trial, 24K long. 1 individual time trial, 20K long. I mean, just for a reference point, that's about half of what the tour was. Individual time trial kilometers, not as important. I'm not sure it will matter because the 3 biggest contenders are Jonas Vingegaard, Joao Almeida, and Juan Ayuso. Both of those, all those riders, all 3 of those are very good climbers and time trialists. So the one wrinkle is the team time trial. And I know, Andrew, that you're so excited to talk about this because the only thing you love more than individual time trialing is team time trialing. Because what should decide a Grand Tour other than someone's teammate's ability to time trial?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we dive into that, I think we need to talk about, when are all of the cycling fans in tech and venture capital going to get together and move the start of the Vuelta to Truckee?
They would go for it, I think. They would definitely start it there.
That's what we've been waiting for. And Spencer and Jonathan, yes, we want to dive into the Vuelta, but I have to know, what are your plans for Burning Man? Are you flying private or are you skydiving in?
What's Burning Man?
Whoa.
Okay.
Incendiary.
Wow.
Unnecessary.
Never working in tech. All right. So maybe let's dive into this race. And I think I'm going to start off with something kind of controversial here, as I often like to do. When I found out we were going to get together to discuss this race, it is that time of year. The thought that I had is, there's a bike race happening? Does this race even matter?
Is that an open question?
It is.
I would say, yeah. I mean, what am I talking to? Lance Armstrong here? He's always like, who wants to go to the Vuelta? What a shitty race. Who wants to do that? But I actually talked to our friend Paul Redmayne. He says his daughters listen to the show in the car.
Yeah,
so now I'm very self-conscious about my language.
Yeah, your dad's Sigma.
Yeah. And very cool guy, by the way. Cannot wait to ride together. But
Skibbity.
I would say it does matter because it used to be a terrible race, I guess, for a lack of a better word. Like when I was younger, I mean, think of like the late 90s, early 2000s, like they're on these highways or cruising around like middle of nowhere Spain. You're like, what is going on here? I would say, though, like last 15 years, might be the best Grand Tour of the season, Andrew. It's very exciting. Winning a Grand Tour is a big deal because, well, there's just 3 of them. They're 3 weeks long. So I guess that could be your base case. But I looked into it. Almost every Grand Tour, almost every Tour de France winner has done well at the Vuelta the year before they've won the Tour. So yeah, it actually does matter quite a bit. Jonathan, your thoughts?
No, I agree.
Is this race even worth watching?
Yeah.
That's what this preview's for.
I think one of the first times you had me on, I asked the question, which I think you found quite incendiary, is the Vuelta more important than the Giro?
Yeah, now we're going.
Go back to your skiff if that's your take, Jonathan.
And then I just think, yes, it's the last chance, man. If it's like it's just desperation all around.
Yeah, that's my thought, and I want to throw this out here. It seems to me that Jonas has little to gain and everything to lose by being at this race.
Well, okay, let's say he doesn't go to this race. That's not an acceptable season for a rider making that amount of money. Would you disagree?
Put him on ice. Send him to Africa Worlds. He better win.
But he's not racing that for the team, I think, is where that gets complicated. Like if he wins Worlds, he's not doing that. He's also not going to win Worlds because what's the biggest one-day race he's ever won? Has he ever won a one-day race? I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
But he would not be winning it for Visma. So that's also where that gets complicated.
Yeah.
And he's done well at the Tour, at the Vuelta twice in 2020 and 2023.
Well, he should have won it.
He could have won the race. I mean, yeah, he did
Well,
pretty
that's
well.
a whole other. I know. That's just to go back to 2023. I mean, I got on the Sepp bandwagon, and I don't think I regret anything more than doing that.
Well, speaking of regrets, do you think Jonas Vingegaard regrets giving that Vuelta to Sepp? Because it's easy, and this is, I think, giving away a Grand Tour is like crazy behavior. You should not do it because there's only 3 of them. Like I said, there's not that many like chances to win a Grand Tour in your career. You have to take them. He gives away that Grand Tour. That's the last major victory he had a chance to win was that. You know, he has not won a Grand Tour since. He's not, he's won some 1-week races like O Gran Camino, Tirreno Adriatico, which technically is a World Tour race, but I would not say the strongest of the 2 races happening at that same time. Tour of Poland. Volta Algarve. But so I do kind of wonder if he's like, maybe I shouldn't have given that one away because, especially Andrew, if he doesn't win this, like you said, where does that leave him in Visma? Like, where do they go from here if they don't win this race?
Yeah, he's in Froomeville if he doesn't go to this race.
Current Froomeville or like 2018 Froomeville?
Yeah, I think 2018 Froomeville. It's kind of like in this state of limbo.
But also, this shows you the importance of Simon Yates winning the Giro because for the team, if they strike out here, at least they have the Giro. Like they've won a Grand Tour. So you're like, well, not disaster of a season. But if they don't have that Giro win, it actually starts to get dicey for them fast because like, well, what are we doing here? But guys, I'm not convinced, just to jump right into the GC, I'm not convinced Jonas walks away with this. I did like the betting market thinks he just wins this, eyes closed, not difficult with those 9 summit finishes. Did we see at the Tour de France, obviously compared to everybody else, he looks fantastic, right? I don't know if he was better relative to Pogačar than we saw the year before. Like, and he's going up against like Joao Almeida is seriously good. Like this guy, maybe if you just watch the Tour de France, you'd be like, what are you talking about? Is Joao Almeida any good? He might be able to climb with Vingegaard, and he might be a better time trialist than Vingegaard. So I don't think this is an assured win by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the start list. I can't wait to see the drama unfold over at UAE. Right. We got Juan Ayuso.
Well, yeah.
What's Juan Ayuso going to do?
Well, did you see like their press release was like our leader, Joao Almeida, and then like 4 pages later, and our co-leader, Juan Ayuso. It's like, ooh, Ayuso, that's not good. And he wants to leave, I guess, allegedly is the word. Not shocking when we consider how hard it is for him to get chances. Huge, huge race for Juan Ayuso. Like he has to perform here. And it's funny to say this about someone that's like in their early 20s, or like, where does he fit in with that team? Like, is he like, he can't say he's better than Almeida if he loses to Almeida at this race. He's not better than Pogačar. Is he better than Del Toro? Like, seems like Del Toro is going to be getting the reps over him going forward. So Juan Ayuso kind of has to win this race if he wants a GC future at UAE. Jonathan, were you going to say something?
No, I just think it comes down to both Visma and UAE. Can like both teams get along? Can Matteo and whomever else, subjugate their ambition to help Jonas? And then without Tade, UAE's kind of been a mess at times, right? Without that sort of focus.
Even with at times.
Right, exactly.
He doesn't notice he's too far ahead. He's like, what's going on? What is going on? Yeah. Where is the team? What are they doing?
Right. So I think, can they both manage within? I think that's the key to both teams' success.
I mean, well, okay, you've just reminded me now. UAE, by the way, yeah, we should not just assume that they're going to be amazing because when Pogačar's not there, they often do, for lack of better words, kind of screw things up. Like think of stage 20 of the Giro. I still can't get over the fact that Wout van Aert's in that breakaway and they let it get a big enough of a gap for him to get over the Finestre, I believe that was the climb, and then pace Simon Yates on the other side. That's like a huge mistake. Not quite sure how that happened. That just shows you kind of maybe like a lack of focus when Pogačar's not there. But Visma, with Matteo, the last time Matteo won a race, I believe, was Paris-Nice. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you know who was maybe not as nice to him at Paris-Nice as he could have been? Mr. Jonas Vingegaard, who attacked him when Matteo Jorgensen was in or I guess Jorgensen is how he says it. Jorgensen was in the yellow jersey. Like now you're thinking like, maybe that wasn't a good idea because do you think Matteo remembers that, Andrew? Is he the type of guy that that might bother if getting attacked and dropped by his teammate when he's leading a race.
Seems like he possibly would remember that. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to say there's tension where there's not, but you asked last week too, like, what's Mateo's future? Like, as a GC leader, he doesn't get many chances, mainly because he's always on the Tour team. Well, now he's not on the Tour. Now he's on a race that's not the Tour, but the Tour leader is there. So it's just like, is he perennially just working for Jonas? Like, what's the deal there?
You also have to wonder, do we potentially end up in a GC Jorgensen situation where people that ride hard for top American like Jonathan are blowing up the internet because Jorgensen is within spitting distance of the podium? And what happens then? Stuff starts to get a little bit nasty. I don't think that Vingegaard's going to be handing over the reins to Santa's sled this time, though.
Well, if I do think that is worth talking about, GC Jorgensen. I don't, you don't really know how someone's doing coming out of the Tour. Seemed like maybe he was in Idaho with some bear spray, riding around on his mountain bike. For most people, you'd be concerned. For Matteo, maybe he tends to get in pretty good shape when he does that. But it starts in Italy. If you've ever been to Piedmont, it's right next to the Alps. So like they're going into the Alps. Stage 2 is, just going to read these stats to you guys. It is a 10K long, 6% summit finish on stage 2. Stage 3, also very difficult, goes right through the Alps. Another summit finish. Well, I guess it's shorter, 2K long, but it's hard right out of the gate. It also could be breakaways. Like, as you were saying, Jonathan, with will the teams get along? Like, will they get along with each other? Or will they say, I don't want to chase this breakaway. You want to chase this breakaway? What if Jai Hindley's up in the break? What if Matteo Jorgensen's up in the break? Visma's not going to control that. What if Juan Ayuso is up there with him? UAE is not going to control that. I think you could see, like last year when Ben O'Connor got 6 minutes, you could see someone stack up early time via a breakaway, and then it gets complicated, just like when Sepp Kuss won. It's kind of why the Vuelta is a good race, because it's less controlled.
So what's going to happen because first of all, what I noticed is there's so much, even the easy stages, they're all like more than 3,200 meters of elevation gain. And I think the standard deviation's even like higher with the average, and some of those are over 4,000. I mean, stage 20 is just kind of cruel.
Yeah, stage 20. I mean, I guess the thing you get at the Vuelta too is just a trend. Like at the Tour, I think there was 2 stages over 5,000 meters of elevation gain, which is a lot. Like that's almost 20,000 feet. But you don't normally get the raw numbers like that at the Vuelta because there's just like fewer. The Alps are so big, right? You don't have the Alps in Spain. You tend to have really hard finishing climbs, and you tend to have slightly shorter stages, which then will depress the total number of vertical meters climbed. But you're right. There's like something, I think 11 stages over 3,000 meters of climbing, which is a lot. 3 over 4,000 meters of climbing, none over 5, but what I say, 9 summit finishes, and all those summits are hard. So whoever wins this will be a good climber, I guess is our thesis there.
The one thing, the stages 4 and 13 are over 200 kilometers. And then there's stage 4, which there's some discrepancy. It's only a 10K discrepancy. If you look at what's on the Vuelta's website and what's on Pro Cycling Stats and what's been reported. So is it 192 or 202? I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Isn't that funny? It does actually happens more than you think. Like, how is this debated?
I guess it's where the kilometers come in that matters. If it's uphill kilometers, yeah, it matters. If they're flat at the beginning, probably not.
Sounds like a bit of a Twilight Zone situation. Question for both of you guys. Is Tom Pidcock going to finish this race?
Well, wait, we talked about this last week, right?
I'll talk about this every episode for perpetuity until he figures out his focus.
Yeah. I'm not convinced he's not dropping out and doing the mountain bike world championships mid race. Can you imagine how sad Tom Pidcock is to be missing the mountain bike world championships for this race?
Has he ever finished a Grand Tour?
Yes.
Yeah.
What does he finish?
Just did
the
at
Tour
the
de
Giro,
France.
right?
He dropped out the Tour de France where he won the stage.
Well, he finished the Giro this year, finished 16th place, Andrew. How do you not remember that GC performance? Yeah, DNF didn't finish the Tour last year. When did he win the stage? Was that like, he actually does finish quite a few Grand Tours.
Good for him.
So he did finish the one that he won the stage. But I mean, important point here. Has he ever really done well in the GC? Like, why is he here in a GC capacity for Q36.5? When you think, well, stage hunting would be perfect. I just don't get the continued obsession with GC. Am I missing something there?
I think that's how you pull down the big paycheck.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, right? Like we talked about this on the last episode. You have to have somebody on your team who you can say, hey, Carapaz, this is the guy's year. Did you see that gold medal bike? And with Tom, I think it's similar. And then Pidcock also, last chance hotel for him is Worlds if this doesn't pan out. But we know Worlds, 12,000 feet of climbing. We've got a few other riders slotting into the last chance sweepstakes. And then I don't know if you all caught this between a lot of videos of eating hash browns at the Durango Diner. Quinn Simmons ramping up gravel style for a shot at Worlds. Just put in a 30-hour week. A lot of hash browns.
Quinn Simmons. Wait, where is he training?
He's in Durango.
That is a legend.
He did a
coming back.
30-hour week. I wish I had screenshotted it. I looked at the...
And he said specifically it's for Worlds. It has to be, right?
Yes, he was like ramping up for Worlds. His CTL was 170, I believe.
Watch USA Cycling
wow.
not select him.
Yeah.
Doesn't get invited. Here, I'm trying to look up this circuit. You would think it's too hard. It doesn't.
Nothing's too hard for Quinn Simmons.
Yeah, there is truth to that. Yeah. When Quinn Simmons is involved, it might not be too hard. Well, they are all short. Well, do you guys remember? So Pogacar attacks last year in Zurich, wins the race. Do you remember the only rider crazy enough to follow him?
Quinn Simmons.
100K left to go. Quinn's not deterred. I don't know. I don't hate that, actually. I like that, Quinn. I wish he was doing the Vuelta, though. Wouldn't you think that's better preparation? It used to be like mandatory that you did the Vuelta to do the Worlds.
I don't think anything's better than starting your day with hash browns at the Durango Diner and then getting out in the surrounding mountains.
Sounds like he's taking the Kip Taylor approach.
Yeah,
Get out to Durango.
Kip we have to have Kip's Corner on this episode. For anyone who's following along, who's a Kip fan, I hate to give his competitors any kind of edge out there in the Front Range or within a 5-hour driving radius. Kip is a big fan of hash browns, and he generously shared them. Thank you, Kip.
Thank you. Yeah, he was the only one smart enough to think maybe I should buy some sausage and hash browns the night before this big ride. Just on Kip Corner, so there was this race, Littleton Crit, like one of the biggest crits in the U.S. Huge controversy that I don't even really understand over crashes there. There's always crashes there. It's pitch black. You're going fast. Like, huge controversy. Just dangerous race. You look at the results sheet. Who's right there? Forrest Gump style? Kip Taylor in this super dangerous pro race. Guy drove like 2 hours, one each way, has multiple children, was like, nah, I'm just going to line up for this. And, the people winning this race are like, I should be world tour. I'm so good. And then you're like on same time. Kip Taylor has a full-time job, 100 kids. Just finish on the same time as these pros. Pretty legendary stuff, actually.
Legend. The other thing that's legendary here, looking at the start list, when I think Vuelta, I think Movistar. And this is the first year that I'm looking at the Movistar roster, and I'm just not seeing anybody that. This is kind of like stormtroopers in the background in Empire Strikes Back. I don't know who any of these riders are.
Well, Javier Romo on Movistar, you may recognize from, do you remember a mulleted man winning a stage of the Tour Down Under when we were in Tucson?
Okay.
That was him. So that's not nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he might be one of their best riders on this team. I mean, I kind of wanted Romeo to do this. Romeo to do this race because he's a big talent.
Okay.
They do have Pablo Castrillo. If you know that name, I think he won, 2 stages at last year's Vuelta on What was that team even called? Equipo Kern Pharma. And has not been as good since he made the switch. So this is kind of a big race for him to try to recapture the magic from last year.
Oh, he jumped up, huh?
No Enric Mas. Do we know where Enric Mas is? Anyone have whereabouts on him?
No idea.
I don't really get. He must be sick. Also, speaking of the big bucks, we can do this. We can win this. Do you think Richard Carapaz is doing this race or not? The big money man on EV is not. He's too sick to do it. Couldn't do the tour. Couldn't do the Vuelta. Can you imagine? I mean, they won't say it publicly because the guy's sick, right? It's not really fair, but they must be pretty upset internally, I would imagine, about that they're paying this guy, Tom Pidcock, Pogacar level money, and he can't race 2 of the 3 Grand Tours of the season.
Yeah.
Some of these teams don't even have, I mean, I was sort of amazed to me. First of all, there's 6 Americans, which is pretty good showing. Last minute addition, the most recent addition was Kevin Vermarka, which is maybe going to be awkward given that he's going to make the jump to UAE.
Well, yeah, it's funny. You would think that it wouldn't be that awkward because what they're all adults, they're making decisions. I think it is kind of other teams can feel upset about that. And sometimes they don't even select you to race.
Yeah, nobody's going to ride for you. That's for sure.
It's kind of funny though, because it's like, well, the result is still the teams, but yeah, people don't love it. But okay, so 6 Americans, which is good. That is one less than Denmark, which is kind of a small country. Australia has 11 riders in this race. We got to step it up, man. This is not enough.
Yeah, I was watching Hard Knocks with my dad last night, who's visiting from Kansas City, enjoying the cooler weather here in Maine, along with my mother. And as I was watching the typical miscellaneous injuries taking these professional football players out of the NFL in the course of the training camp, I keep going back to my concept of we could just be plucking these D1 athletes with career-ending injuries and turning them into professional cyclists. They, of course, would want to then get on a bike for 30 hours a week, but they certainly have the right stuff. And with the right backing from a certain private equity firm, you might be seeing this concept coming into reality pretty soon. That's really all I can say about it right now. I'm actually doing a roll-up of injured college athletes.
Just create an army of injured college athletes.
Didn't Franco take up cycling after his career in Pittsburgh? I think he did.
I hesitate to even say the man's name. There's a very bad man who actually became a very good cyclist, like a Cat 1 cyclist after retiring from the NFL, which I always thought was interesting, amusing. Can you imagine that? You're like, your whole life, you're like one of the best players in the NFL. Then you're like, now I will go to parking lot crits for the next 10 years before I go to prison for awful things. So the Americans, Magnus Sheffield, Matthew Riccatello, Kevin Vermarka, who you had this, I don't know if we can say, you had the scoop on him.
You can say, yeah.
To UAE.
Yeah. There's a whole other
to
discussion.
Be nice. Yeah.
I want to know what your listeners think. Do you sit, if you have something good to curry favor with the source, do you sit on the news or just say, whatever, I'm just going to go for it and, you know.
And
Jonathan, you're the most hardcore hard news journalist on this podcast, so why don't you tell us what's the answer?
You had this like there's a right answer.
I'll tell you the answer. I'll tell you what I told
days,
you then.
I think these days you just do it. I just don't think there's no percentage in sitting on news these days. It doesn't do anybody any favors.
Andrew?
Well, I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about this news that I just saw that just popped up that Primož Roglič, great quote here, "The day I quit is getting closer."
I'm so sick of these guys talking about this.
And then the subhead is Slovenian puts family before racing. This is like the classic need to spend time with the family. This dude is done. He's finished. So what are we going to get out of?
But he still wants to collect those checks. So
yeah,
he's like,
of course he wants to collect the checks.
Retirement.
Good for him. I wonder if he's going to go to the Worlds or if he's going to focus on ski jumping for the winter. I mean, that's a good question. And I should know this, but I don't. Speaking of our whereabouts program here on Beyond the Peloton, where in the world is Remco? He's not currently injured, right? So why is he? And yes, he's going to Red Bull next year. Why is he not at this race?
I think he's doing the Tour of Britain, right?
Yeah, but come on.
You can't be missing
the
really?
Lloyd's
You're doing
Bank
the Tour of Britain?
Is he over there for the bangers and mash? Like,
trying to get that visa over the line. I have to promote this race. It's also, I'm looking at it's sprint stages. I'm on stage 5. Okay, there's a tiny uphill finish on stage 5. Wow. Yeah. So it is 5 sprint stages and 1 steep summit finish. Yeah. I don't know. This is weird, isn't it? I still don't. We're not supposed to talk about it because we're jerks if we talk about it. What the heck happened at the Tour? And then he said, I wasn't injured. I just, after the time trial to Dauphiné, I could never produce any power. I'm like, well, what? Seems a little strange. Like, do we want to look into that? What's that about? Any thoughts?
Maybe he wasn't doing activations with mini bands prior to these stages, right? But are you activating with mini bands now? Because it's all I hear professional cyclists talk about.
Really? Done that for a long time. But I'm not a professional cyclist.
Spencer, are you activating? You're a young man. Do you just get on the bike or are you activating?
Get on and roll. I'm not activating. Yeah. You do imagine that actually could be helpful for professional cyclists to activate with miniband.
Oh, I think it definitely.
They do.
I think it definitely helps. I also think at a certain point, are you activated enough? I was watching a day in the life with a pro cyclist last night. I'm not going to name this pro cyclist, but I can tell you I saw the dark triad, which is they're making electronic music now. There's evidence that they're painting and they're living comfortably in America. These are 3 This is the dark triad. These are 3 signs that your world tour career may be heading in a different direction than you had hoped.
Dying to know. It's So it's an
Any-
active
any
world.
Why is it
how
a secret?
this-
If this was on the internet, why is this? Why are you not?
Well,
even
we don't
Because
want
I don't want to dime this person out.
Yeah, we don't want
Whatever.
to put this guy on
I could be
blast.
talking. I mean, the funny thing is, I could be talking about 30 different Americans who could have been something great at the world tour level, and now they're painting and making electronic music, which those are activities I enjoy, but I'm not a professional cyclist. Anyhow, this cyclist had an activation routine that it was extensive, and I just wonder at what point are you activated enough that you're ready to go?
I usually do just like a full Flagstaff at threshold,
Yeah,
just from an activation, and then I'm ready to roll. I'm good to go. I mean, on just like while we're on the topic, so Remco has started 6 Grand Tours, finished 3, like 50% finish rate, not that good. I just said Jonas Vingegaard's I just said he might not win this race. You guys know his record in Grand Tours? So he started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He started 7 of them. Did you know he's finished every single one and finished on the top 2 6 of those 7 times? Like that
was the
level of
7?
consistency to now go against my own take that Joao Almeida or Juan Ayuso could win this race, like just something. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed this in your amateur racing as well, both of you, but like Juan Ayuso started 4 Grand Tours, finished 2. Like that, once you get a case of the DNFs start becoming easier and easier to do. Like it sounds ridiculous to say at this level, but I do think there's something to that. Like if you're a consistent rider, you're just consistent in the future. And if you're a rider that drops out of Grand Tours a lot, it does make me a little less confident to pick them to win.
unless you're incapacitated and severely physically injured, you're always going to get more out of finishing the race, even if you're having a horrible day, than you would from pulling the plug.
Yes. I mean, even just like teaching your mind that you can quit, I feel like is a very dangerous thing. It sounds sounds stupid and simple, but it is the truth in my opinion. Like, I don't think Pogačar, I think he's done. Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. He's done. Hold the phone. He's done. Oh my God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Grand Tours. Never finished off the podium. So it does seem like consistency breeds consistency. And so that would be, if anyone ran to the bookie, paused the podcast, ran to the bookie after my Almeida prediction, it's just something to think about. He's never won a Grand Tour. He's DNF 3 of them. He has not finished on the podium of a Grand Tour since 2023. But I mean, he has spent a lot of time working for others. But just to get right down to it, who do you guys think is going to win this race?
I'm gonna go with the obvious pick with Jonas, and I'll have my sleeper pick is Ben O'Connor. And if he were there racing, I would go with Derek G, but he's not racing. He was on the Pro Cycling Stats list, and then IPT came out with its roster yesterday, and he was not there, which is strange. But before you get to your guys' choices, I think there are 2 other opponents that could define the Vuelta, and that is, I know there's a terrible heat wave, although it's allegedly or supposed to have snapped, and there were terrible wildfires, and in the northern part of the country where the race is almost exclusively held. So, I think those are 2 things to watch out for.
Well, I think it is. I kind of interesting. If you look at the route map, it does not go south of Madrid. It's in the north the whole time. I think they've had bad experiences in the south. The south is not as prosperous, probably can't pay for starts and finishes as much anyway. But the weather is, I was shocked. Like I looked up, let's just say, I don't know, Santander. That's in a place where they go a lot. What's the weather right now? Like you're talking high in the 70s. So it actually is not in like 60s by next week, like highs in the 60s. So actually, I was surprised that the heat is probably not going to be as big of an issue as I initially thought. And wildfires, I had to tell people, like all summer, I was just sitting in a wildfire smoke bubble. I think that's the future. If you want to be a bike racer, get used to racing wildfire smoke, because I was in Geneva last week. Wildfires smoke from Canada, just like engulfing the city. Like it's crazy how ubiquitous this wildfire smoke is.
Imagine living in Maine with Canada next door.
Yeah. Oh my God. Canada's just barfing smoke all over the rest of the world.
And Spencer, you're not referring to Geneva, New York. You're talking Geneva, Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wake up just like everything. It looks beautiful because it's all like orange, but it's just from the wildfire smoke. Who's your American pick, Jonathan? What American's gonna light this race on fire?
For stage wins?
Yeah, I guess anything.
Yeah.
Overall,
I don't know.
Stages?
Yeah, I just don't see it unless Matteo somehow doesn't kill himself the first week and get too crosswise with the other teams. Maybe he could pull off a stage.
What about Sean Quinn? I mean, actually,
Yeah.
there are a lot of good American riders here. I didn't finish saying it. Magnus Sheffield, Matthew Riccatello, who could do well. Kevin Vermarka, Sean Quinn, Matteo Jorgensen, Sepp Kuss. I think Andrew was at the Apple store, but Riccatello's dad came over to talk to us in Tucson, and he was
That's right.
already preparing for this race. And this was in January. So Matthew's going to be dialed in, ready to go. It's actually a very good route for him. Before I say he's going to win. So if you guys watched the Tour Denmark, this was one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen from a rider. Mads Pedersen apparently was not allowed to sprint because his team did not want him to get hurt before the Vuelta. So what he did was, I'm just going to win 3 stages and the overall by blowing the race up with like 100K to go every day, getting in the breakaway and then dropping my breakaway companions to win this race because I can't sprint because I don't want to get hurt. I think, and then he's here against Jasper Philipsen, who crashed out of the Tour, has to come here, and like they're going to be battling for stage wins. It's not like necessarily a lot of like pure sprint stages. I think that is like my sneaky pick for this Vuelta of like what could be the most exciting. Philipsen versus Pedersen, the 2 Ps.
Yeah, it almost makes you think the guy should have been at the Tour de France.
That is still so weird to me.
Trivia question: has a Dane ever won the Vuelta, and who is the last Dane to wear the red jersey?
Well, man, do you know the answer to this?
I do.
Bjarne Riis?
No.
Who's the last Dane to wear the red jersey?
But we already talked about him. Jakob Volksgang.
Lars von Trier.
2011.
Lars von Trier. Wow, Jakob was good, huh? You forget that.
Dogma 95, Lars von Trier.
No Dane has ever won the.
What? Why?
Jonas would be the first.
This is also a question I have for you guys. I'm watching these races last week. The Nords are just dominating. Like, what's going on there? Why? And it's not just cycling either. Like, the best miler in the world is Norwegian. They're cleaning up at like both Winter and Summer Olympics, and now Denmark and Norway they seem to be taking over cycling. Like what is happening? Why are we subject to this?
That happened to triathlon previously.
Yeah.
On its face, the explanation is advanced training methodologies, because there was the speed skater as well. Remember, we did the speed skater debrief a while ago.
Was he not Dutch though?
I could be mistaken. They're up there somewhere. Cold.
They're up there
Cold,
somewhere.
A lot of rain.
I have to edit that out. They're up there.
They're up there. But there's like the 2-a-day Norwegian method, which don't try it at home, even if you're in the Lifetime Grand Prix. And like, we're not going to get into it this episode, but speaking of super high volume training, I'm sure you all saw the New York Times story about the admittedly small sample size study of ultra runners having a disproportionate amount of colorectal cancer, which is disturbing, and they don't really understand why that's the case right now. But it was a study of people who frequently run high frequency marathon runners and ultra marathon runners have a disproportionate amount of incidences of colorectal cancer, which then made me think about some of the super high volume training we're seeing. And I hope that that's not what happens, but could portend not great things to come. Getting back to the bright side of things.
Wait. I now forgot. Jonathan, who's your pick to win?
Jonas.
And then
the sleeper pick would be Ben O'Connor.
Ben O'Connor. We're going to circle back to him. That is kind of an interesting one. Okay, go ahead, Andrew. Sorry.
I was going to say, okay, so my pick to win the Vuelta, is that where we're at right now in this conversation?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, I'm going with Jai Hindley. I'm going to go with Jai Hindley. And
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, I feel like he's due. We haven't seen the results from him that we would have liked to have seen following his Giro victory and then his implosion at the Tour. But if there's one thing that Jai does not lack, it's confidence. He's got swagger. He's a champion. And I feel like with the profile of this race, the number of summit finishes, I feel like he could be there. And I just have a suspicion something might happen with Jonas that opens the door for someone else. So Jai is my pick. My backup, I'm going with Matteo Jorgensen. If it's not Jai, it's going to be Matteo. And then if we were to get into stage winners, I have a lot of thoughts about that, but we won't go there quite yet. Spencer, who have you got?
I love those picks, by the way, because what could happen is with two teams that are like so favorite, like UAE and Visma, they could stare at each other. And then who's going to get up the road? Jai Hindley, it's a great route for him. Not a lot of time trials. And also just from a chaos perspective, if Jai Hindley wins this race, so you have Florian Lipowitz, who's maybe one of the best like 2-year GC prospects we've ever seen after Tadej Pogacar. You have Jai Hindley, who's just won the Vuelta, and then on the same team as Remco Evenepoel, who's not at this race for like unknown reasons. I would love that next year for Red Bull. That would be chaos. But my pick, I'm so deep. I'm so over leveraged on this guy. I have to pick him. João Almeida. I think it's Vuelta or bust for Almeida. Same thing with Ayuso, but I'm not picking him. João Almeida is my favorite. My dark horse is Matteo Jorgensen, just like you, Andrew. I think this could be the Vuelta of Matteo. He had a bad tour, as we talked about. It's desperation. You got to recover. He probably is doing Worlds, a rider of his caliber, if he wants. But this is really like his chance to make this step up from Paris-Nice to a Grand Tour, and I think it could be the time.
That assumes something happens to Jonas. Something
Yeah.
UAE kind of implodes.
Well, yeah. I mean that's the UAE thing. They could get lost. By the way, they're just like whenever Pogacar's not there, it's like you have to just put anything into account. They could stop for a coffee mid-stage. They're confused. They don't know it's a live stage. Boom, they lose 10 minutes. I don't know if I'm not. Maybe I'm out of my mind. But Jonas. So I thought. Little bit of underperformance at the tour. And then is that really the best preparation for the Vuelta to go for GC at the tour? And then you're coming in against guys who have prepared specifically for this race, like Ayuso, and then Almeida, because he crashed out so early at the tour, has essentially been preparing specifically for the Vuelta. I'm not convinced that is like great preparation. And then Matteo was not, he had a totally different tour than Jonas because he wasn't on every day because he was sick. So he kind of rode it more in a stage win rhythm versus a GC rhythm. And I do think that gives him an advantage. I don't know. I could be wrong. Jonas could trounce his way to victory here. I just did not leave that tour thinking, man, this guy's a killer. He's going to win a bunch of races. In fact, I thought a lot of his decisions looked kind of weird, like where he didn't go and then Thymen Arnsman wins, but he probably would have won if he went 50 meters earlier. Jonas would have. Stuff like that. I'm like, I don't quite know what's going on in Camp Jonas right now.
Well, they
and the issues with his manager seems to be some dissent within the team.
Yeah, like none of that fills me with confidence. I mean, he's a great rider, second best GC rider in the world. I just think, and maybe I'm like premature on this, I do think we're getting to an era where it's no longer just Pogacar and Vingegaard heads and shoulders above everybody else. I think we've reached a point where like the mini-me's at UAE are going to start to become a problem for everyone else besides Pogacar. And then maybe eventually Pogacar.
Yeah, I think especially when you look at what's happened post-tour for Pogacar. I'm sure you all saw this. He's riding with a jersey currently that says "Do Not Disturb," and it has like a camera and a video camera with the circle with the line through it. So I think the weight of being the center of attention in the manner that you are when you're a tour winner at this point in his career, he seems to be a bit over it.
Well, in some of these, you have to realize like some of these press conferences, I can't believe these guys do it. Same Pogacar and Thymen Arnsman. Both were asked repeatedly about the INEOS Soigneur, or carer, as they call them at INEOS, the Slovenian carer, like what their relationship to this guy was. And it's like, well, I've never met him. The events you're describing, the alleged shady events happened when I was like 9 years old. So I don't know what you want me to say here. And like they're getting asked about that all the time. Like it would drive you a little nuts.
Yeah,
why do journalists ask bad questions?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just, it's like it's just desperation. Maybe you get someone to say something if you ask it like 16 different ways.
Yeah,
but it is I do find it kind of annoying that that they ask. I mean, you've said this, that you think you're going to get some kind of revelatory answer about some scandal in a press conference. I mean, no, that doesn't happen. Like that takes like real digging, legwork, shoe leather reporting, whatever. I mean, you got to develop sources. You don't go show up at a press conference, shout a question, and think you're going to get some kind of answer back that blows up something open. It's just stupid.
Yeah, this guy sent me a bunch of doping products in 2015. Thanks for asking. Thought no one would ever ask. Before we get to stage winners, Andrew, I mean, on the topic of INEOS, my favorite topic, what are INEOS's prospects at this race? I mean, I just see it like, I almost feel like in cycling journalism, people they get mantras and they repeat it without actual evidence. Like Jonas Vingegaard's he's better at high mountain stages than Tadej Pogačar. It's like, well, has he dropped? When's the last time he dropped Pogačar? Was that 2 years ago? Like when Pogačar was coming off a broken wrist? Like actually, where's the evidence for that? And the same thing with Egan Bernal. It's like, will this be the Grand Tour that Egan Bernal recovers as a Grand Tour contender? I kind of think what we've seen from Egan Bernal is what we're going to get from Egan Bernal. Like, I don't think he got 7th of the Giro. The problem is he was losing time in the mountains, which is when he needs to be taking time, because he's not a great time trialist and he's not great at taking time other places. So I think kind of what you see is what you've got with Egan Bernal. They have Filippo Ganna, who I love. Maybe he could do something here. Not a great amount of time trials. Maybe he could win a sprint stage. Kwiatkowski, Bob Jungels, Brandon Rivera, Magnus Sheffield, who did win the final stage of Paris and could win a stage here. Victor Langolotti, who has been amazing. I didn't understand why they signed him, and he's been one of their sharpest riders all year. And Lucas Hamilton. But that is, for a team that we've heard like is turning things around, I just look at that roster and think, how is this the roster you've put together for one of the sport's 3 Grand Tours? Am I being too harsh on that?
So I think there are a lot of teams that look like that.
Well, there's not a lot of teams though with like a budget of 55 million pounds.
That's true. Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, fair point.
Like Cofidis might have a more interesting roster than INEOS. You know, like there's a lot of teams here. Like Intermarché, I don't know if we want to talk about this, but Intermarché in deep financial trouble. They basically they're like ending the team / merging with Lotto. But like they often show up to races with like a team full of riders that can win races. And then INEOS just doesn't feel like that for reasons slightly unknown to me. I don't quite know how this keeps happening to them.
Yeah, but how do we feel about Magnus Sheffield being...
Yeah, a lot of...
Is he wasting his talent being stuck there?
Well, he's only 23. I think I said after that Paris stage, I'm like, he hasn't won a race in 2 years, and he's only 23 years old. Like, that is kind of unbelievable. I think it was 3 years, actually, that I hadn't won a race. But kind of unbelievable. He is a huge talent. I heard someone like, oh, I don't know if they'll retain him. It's like, what? Like, he's one of their biggest talents. It does feel like he's wasting his career there, wasting his talents there. But I mean, where would he go, Andrew? Like, where would you have him jump ship to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean,
Movistar. Be their leader.
Maybe he just needs to go pay for his own training camp, and then he'd get onto Visma. I don't know. I'm not sure, but his path forward, I mean, you need to be on a team that has the capacity to win with a leader who can win. And then, as we've seen with Matteo Jorgensen, if that something happens, then the door opens for you to start taking victories, and then you start to get the opportunity on your own. But right now, in the role that he's in at INEOS and with the roster that they have, he doesn't get the opportunity to express his talents, I don't think. So where would you go? I'm not really sure.
Part of that too, it's tough for some of these riders. Like, what are his talents? You know, like you're so good at everything, it's hard to have a lane. And he feels like that type of rider where it's like, well, is he a GC rider? Is he a stage hunter? Like, what exactly is Magnus Sheffield? Like, I believe he finished top 10 at Flanders, like as a 23-year-old, which is unbelievable. Maybe 22-year-old, which is unbelievable. But it just doesn't feel like he's picked that lane and excelled. That is a hard team too. I don't think they have a lot of structure. I think it's just kind of like choose your own adventure, get a paycheck, choose your own adventure, try to win the tour. Good luck. But I think that's maybe not the best for that type of rider. If my kid was in the position to go to a World Tour team, I mean, I've talked to someone who's in this very position, and it definitely seems like there's massive differences in the World Tour and the differences between how World Tour teams develop riders and the visions they have. And I think you're seeing kind of an issue they have at INEOS.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Lamperti, basically same vintage. He's 22. And
same vintage.
Yeah, God, you know, I mean, I'm just thinking about like what's a good point of comparison here with the rider. I mean, different profiles of riders, but similarly, you know, Luke was getting sent to Tulsa Tough. He just picked up a win, right?
Yeah, he was in the yellow. What race was that though?
It was not the biggest race. I believe. What was it? The Tour of Croatia? Czech Tour. No, it was Czech Tour.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy. I mean, the answer for all of this might be go to Visma.
Right?
They're just so good at, like, you could imagine, like, think of Matthew Brennan, right? Probably could have gone to any team you want to go to, goes to Visma. He's unbelievable. Like, I think that might be the boring answer for a lot of these English-speaking riders. Just like, head to Visma, let them do their thing. The only thing about Visma, and I don't know if it's proven out, but they may like work you so hard that it's hard, like it burns you out basically physically. And think of Nielsen Palace, huge talent,
Right.
goes to Visma, and he's talked about how it didn't work for him. He always felt fatigued, he always felt hungry, and then I mean, he's had a good career, great career, right? But just I thought he was much better than Matteo Jorgensen as a young rider. And then now obviously Matteo Jorgensen is a level above where Palace is. And I just kind of wonder did he just get fried out in the Visma machine? So that would be one thing I worry about. But on Ben O'Connor, Jonathan, the only thing, Ben O'Connor has an amazing talent for when you think he's done, you're like, oh man, you're doing the Ben O'Connor experience again. Like, I don't know about this. And then he comes back and wins one of the hardest stages of the tour. Incredible determination. I think most of his GC results have come from breakaways, like at the Vuelta last year where he got 6 minutes and then held on for second. At what point do people stop letting him get into breakaways that get 6 minutes is my concern on him.
Good question.
But maybe it's, what is it, like Battlestar Galactica? It's happened before, it will happen again. Maybe it will just happen for eternity. But what are your stage win takes, Andrew? I can't wait to hear them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Ben O'Connor, Santiago Buitrago, Jay Vine are all people that I see winning stages. I don't know how Jay Vine does this, but I feel like he's got a stage in him. The terrain favors him. And Tom Pidcock is going to have to save his race by winning a stage at some point. I'm not sure where he does it, but he's going to have, if he goes to this race and he's like not a GC contender, which unfortunately I don't believe he's going to be a GC contender. It's going to be something that happens in the first week and he's going to finish like 15 minutes behind the race, I think. And then he's going to have to find a way to pull a rabbit out of the hat and win a stage in the second 2 weeks of the race. So he has to win something. And Matteo Jorgensen's going to win a stage. And who else have we got here?
Philipsen? Is he going to win a stage or no?
Yeah, I think Philipsen's going to win a stage. Mods will win a stage. And Ghana is, after his tour, like he'll find some way to win a stage. Like he has to, I think.
That would be cool.
Right?
The thing on Pidcock that I don't fully get is why come into this race? Just say, I'm coming to the race, because you could just get in a breakaway and get a bunch of time and then you're in the GC. But if you say you're going for GC, it's less likely you'll be allowed to do that. Also, look at his team and you're like, how are they going to fare in the team time trial? Like,
right.
He's going to need to be in a breakaway because he's going to lose minutes in that team time trial. That whole thing I don't get. I do think he could do some damage. This is a great route for him, stage win wise. So I don't really get why they're so eager to do the GC dance. That seems a little strange.
Yeah, who do you guys have pegged for stage wins? Anybody that I miss?
Well, it would be more interesting if I did, I guess. But I think Mods might win every stage here. Possible we're looking at a clean sweep of the 21 stages.
No, don't you guys think that Jonas needs to win a stage? I mean, he didn't win
he'll definitely win a stage.
But
something
I was looking
has gone terribly wrong if he doesn't.
Yeah. But I was looking at the Colombian riders, the Australian riders, and Archie Ryan is definitely capable of winning one of the stages.
Wait, who's Archie Ryan?
A young Irish rider on EF.
Oh, on EF.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, let's look at his past wins. Oh boy. Well, he is 23. Maybe this guy's 56 kilos. Whoa. What is that in pounds?
By the
way, the French guy. He's like that French guy who won the stage.
I think that guy's like legitimate, like 110 pounds.
He looked it.
Is Ben Healy riding Worlds?
He has to be.
I mean,
it's like doesn't get more perfect for you if you're Ben Healy.
Yeah.
He is doing Worlds. I mean, who's going to beat him out on the Irish? But did you see Q36.5 just won their first World Tour race? Was not Tom Pidcock who did it. It was an Irish rider, Rory Townsend. So maybe that's who is going to win Worlds for Ireland. That they might only get one allotment. So I assume it's Healy. It has to be Healy. That's a great course for him. I mean, there are, I call them hockey stick stages. I guess in Spain they'd be like Uno Puerto stages. But there's maybe not as many this year, but there is a lot of stages where it's not that hard, and then you go into like an unbelievably hard summit finish, like Jonathan mentioned stage 13. The final climb, 12.4K, 10% average. And when you watch it, there's definitely pitches way steeper than that.
24%.
I mean, it looks like the last K is all over 13%. And that's where Sepp Kuss was dropped, almost lost the Vuelta in 2023. And then the team that still is kind of weird to me. So speaking of weird things that are unresolved, so he gets on the radio and sounds like he says, you would imagine he says, wait, but they said that he said, go guys, which he didn't.
Very similar.
Definitely didn't say. Just like there's weird stuff around Visma, like going back to the letter from, or the quotes from Jonas's wife, where you're like, well, what is really going on behind the scenes there?
Yeah, that's the big mystery of that stage. You got to find the man in the blue shirt, the one fan who was there, who was close enough to hear what Sepp said. Track that guy down.
That guy will know.
Yeah.
Well said.
He definitely said, wait, do not keep riding away from me because I want to win this race. What is happening right now? Primoz, I paced you and saved you here 2 years ago. Why are you dropping me? Is probably more likely what he said. But before we go, any other things you guys are looking forward to from this race?
I want the stories from the discos and days of yore. This was a race where riders would go, they would unwind. Thomas Dekker would be closing down the dance floor after a few hits of Molly around 5, 6 a.m. Back on the line and ready to go.
This is true, by the way. That's not like a exaggeration. And they're always like, well, you finished dinner so late. I mean, 5 a.m. That's not that late to be coming home. I'm like, well, what time are you finishing dinner? Like 3 a.m.? But I think, remember, Andy Schleck and Stuart O'Grady got thrown out of the race because they came back to the team hotel at 5 or 6 a.m. drunk.
I think the sport, it's just become so much more professionalized. Even, I mean,
how could you increase the professionalization above that? That seems impossible. I mean, but yeah, it actually does show you why they're going so fast now. It's like, well, when you had guys that were literally drunk showing up to the start line, probably wasn't the best for performance. But yeah, unfortunately, the Vuelta has grown beyond that. It's no longer the party Grand Tour. It's a real race that they take very seriously.
Yeah. I do want to say, I mean, first of all, I'm just psyched to have a Grand Tour back. I think after the Tour de France, I don't know why, like I just had this I was just kind of like lost. I didn't know what to do. It was hard to get into the races that followed the Tour. Normally I watched some of the Tour of Denmark, some of the Tour of Poland, but I feel finally like, I don't know what happened after the Tour de France. There's kind of like this.
You didn't watch the Femmes at a protest, right?
I did. I'd watched some of it. Yeah. Yeah. It was on in the background. I wasn't sitting there actually watching it, like.
I was at the Femmes. I'm sorry you guys couldn't support women's cycling as much as I can, but I understand your anger with a lot of what's going on and how they're being elevated above men in society. But I thought it was a great race.
Yeah. There were some good stories.
Do we want to talk? We're not going to talk about
the other thing.
The
other thing that I noticed that's happened so much. You have the early 2020s. You have the disruptors, Tade, Jonas. I mean, the big six, as you called them, right? They're now the establishment. And now there's a younger, like you already see it, like 5 years on, there's a younger group that makes it, Florian Lipowitz, on and on.
What happens if they're not something that keeps me awake at night? What if they're not good enough?
Yeah.
Like that would be, because you do see that a lot of times with these generations where like they're not, it's not a big enough wave and they just get like subsumed by the older generation. Kind of what's happening in our country, by the way, where the establishment just like hangs on and just kills everything else in the crib beneath it.
Well, they've killed Gen X, Spencer. Your generation is still, you have a fighting chance. Andrew and I,
95,
not so
I
much.
could run for a Senate seat, maybe. There'll be an opening. But actually, how many Gen X presidents have there been? None, right?
Zero,
yeah. So it is very similar to this. I do worry, but I mean, that's why I'm excited for this, because I do think this is, if like Juan Ayuso is really going to do it, this is when it has to happen. Because if not, it's clear that like everything else in the sport is just going to like keep being better than him, for lack of a better word. But you rise up and you take down the establishment, or the establishment keeps suppressing you for a long time. But I mean, what did we like with Tom Dumoulin? He had a short reign, but he came up and he was challenging Chris Froome. And then little did we know that actually the person to bring down Chris Froome would come from inside the team, Geraint Thomas. I guess we could see that. But that's what could happen here with Matteo Jorgensen. I'm telling you guys, it's from when you least expect it. But any other thoughts, Andrew, before we take off into the night?
I think that we would be remiss with three Midwesterners on this call. Jonathan frequently talks about the great state of Illinois. I, of course, am from Missouri. Spencer, you were from state of Kansas. This weekend, we have the Lauf Gravel Worlds happening in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I just saw that Keegan Swinson, Leadville winner, is out there. Do you have any predictions for who's going to win? That's my question. My follow-up question is, what's going on with gravel running now being a thing? Maybe some of our run club members from the World Tour could write in and let us know what that's about.
Well, first of all, Lincoln, Nebraska is one of my favorite cities in the country. I love that. I just love that place.
That is a hot take.
They have Google Fiber. You can get gigabit internet there.
Well, yeah.
Runzas. They've got it all. Gravel roads.
Are we saying Lincoln's better than Omaha? I don't know. Don't you think Omaha is much nicer than Lincoln?
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
I've never been a Lincoln guy, and I've spent a lot of time in Lincoln.
What, are you a big Axar Ben fan? You like to get out there with the ponies and dogs?
Oh, yeah. I always thought Lincoln was it's like too big to be a pure college town, but then like not big enough to be interesting. But man, Omaha, I could move to Omaha tomorrow. Love Omaha. Me and Warren Buffett just hanging out.
Yeah. The Dairy Queen. Yeah.
Yeah.
The DQ.
I also was debated if Kansas is in the Midwest. This is a hot debate.
Yeah.
We might get a lot of inbound from that. But I would say if we're not in the Midwest, what are we? This is the Oklahoma question. What is Oklahoma? And then everyone just is that really a region though?
Well, more importantly, Spencer, how do you self-identify as a Kansas native? Where would you place your region?
I don't know. I'm from the Dust Land, the Dust Bowl. I would say Midwestern, I guess. But then you talk to someone from Minnesota, they're like, no, that's not Midwest. I'm like, well, that seems like you're not Midwest. It seems like you're way too far north.
Yeah, they're from the north.
Yeah, that's Canada up there. But that's the beauty, I guess, of the Midwest. It's an amorphous. I would say if you want to be Midwesterner, you are Midwesterner. I would say like Columbus, Ohio, like you can drive to the beach in a day and get to the ocean. Is that really Midwest? I don't know. Seems
really.
When you load up the car, you're in New York City in 8 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You're in Jones. Well, Jones Beach surfing.
Let's ask Joe Drape. Lionize Smith Center, Kansas. One of your listeners could get to Joe and ask him what his
Where's
view
he from? Is he from?
Joe Drape is from Missouri, I think.
He can't be trusted then.
He can't be trusted.
But hey, buy Mocan first. All I'm saying is next year I'm hoping that we're out here at Lauf Gravel Worlds. I'm looking at the website. They've got the 150 miler. This is the big event. It's a question of will Keegan win or like what's going to happen, right? Then we have the 75. That's historically, that might be the link that this group would target. They also have a 35.
Ooh,
get this on the website. It says it's a non-competitive event. I'm sorry if you're having people pay to come do this. I think that you have a race and you're timing it. Not listed on the site, but I know they have is the 10 miler. And I don't want to play my cards, show my hand too early. I am thinking about focusing on ultra sprint distance gravel here in the near future. You might see some big things coming from Beyond the Peloton by riding with JK, by Choose the Hard Way. Watch out if you have a 10 miler or something in that range.
What would that take you think? Like 18 minutes? Something like that?
Well, I mean, the UK
would be such a hard effort.
Yeah, the UK, don't they have the 10-mile distance? Isn't that like the standard time trial?
Yeah, and they're pumping out like World Tour riders like pancakes. So maybe we should. Actually, that would be it would be 18 minutes. You may average like 420 watts for the whole
it'd be
thing.
Incredible. Especially you could have that probably in a straight line in the Midwest. You could do 10 miles straight. No turns.
Let's go on the CNO towpath, right from DC to Pittsburgh, man, just straight as can be.
When I was a Cat 5, I did a 30-mile road race, straight line.
Wow.
You guys want to have nightmares? Just think about that.
Where was that?
Where was that?
It was in Iowa. It was like part of, I think, like the Burlington Road Race weekend with like the Quad Cities crit, like the Rock
Snake
Island.
Hill?
Yeah, Snake Alley. It was part of that. I think they discontinued that event because it was too dangerous. Then all your stuff is like somewhere else. And you don't have a team car. Like, I just rode 30 miles. Now I have to ride back.
Just eat a banana, like drink some well water. And
some well water. You'll be good. It's not a problem. Was there a gravel race out in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska? I get that confused with Gravel Worlds.
Yeah, that used to be Gravel Nationals. That was the one that was in that borderline. It was between right on the western edge of Nebraska. You were almost in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
that's still got to be happening. We didn't hear about it this year because it's not nationals. And then nationals are happening, I believe, in Minnesota this year. And then everyone will go to Gravel Worlds, which will have, I believe they have 1,200 riders starting the elite race, and it funnels into single track within 50 meters. I actually watched the preview video of the Worlds course, and they just do, I don't even know what gravel is in Europe. It's not like the United States, that's for sure.
Very different.
We're going to find out after the show or after I get back to DC. I'm going to head right to the Icelandic embassy and just get us to that Lauf gravel event in Iceland.
Already happened in 2025. They're having the Rift stage race, mountain bike stage race. I'm hoping they perhaps bring us over for next year. I think it's happening very soon.
Whoa.
Very soon.
The only thing on the very different race than Leadville. I don't know if Keegan's a shoe-in for Gravel Worlds. I mean, that would be impressive to win the Leadville Gravel Worlds double.
It is. I don't know what experience you all have had. I've been thinking about this recently because when you do the taper for a big event, you're backing things off substantially so that you can express your fitness and peak for the event. I've often, maybe this just means that I've never tapered correctly. I often find for 3 to 5 days following that event, I'm the fastest I've ever been.
Yeah, this is very true. It's like Wiggins at the Olympic time trial. It's like 4 days after he wins the tour, and the guy's doing like almost 500 watts for an hour on rolling terrain. So clearly he was fit when he was doing that.
Yeah, so I think if you play your cards right, and definitely could be winning within a week. And you have to think Keegan probably, I haven't looked at his training, but I would assume that he spent probably 8 weeks at extreme altitude preparing for Leadville, and he won by like 15 minutes. I mean, it was absurd.
He was like tapering as he was finishing the race. He was like holding back. I've got to be fresh for Gravel Worlds. I do have to do a school run, so I will have to let you both go.
Way too early. So unfair.
It's actually kids. Legit summer. Yeah, they're like, yeah, here, get to school. So you have bad memories of summer for the rest of your life.
Right.
You're like, great. I'm sitting in a classroom.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, and we will hope our picks succeed at this race, and most importantly that it's an interesting race. And I think it will be available on Peacock in the United States. And if you're not in the United States, if you're in the UK, prepare to pay out the nose, because I believe it's on TNT Sports. Sorry, they shut down ITV4. No TV, no cycling coverage on there anymore.
Well, Peacock jacked up its prices too, so
yeah. It's still probably, we won't get into that now. It's kind of annoying, but I guess that's what happens when you buy a bunch of very expensive sports rights to put on your streaming service. Yeah. All right. See you guys. Thank you so much, and we will be back next week.